Hi guys, this is Pawan and I'm a registered nurse working in one of the hospitals in Sydney, and in this video I'm going to talk about the new graduate program for nurses. So I'm going to cover what the new graduate program for nurses is all about and how I was able to secure myself a position as a new grad RN straight after my graduation, and during the video I'm also going to cover a few tips for all of you out there who are considering to apply for the program at some point. So let's get right into it. So what is the new graduate program? Well, basically it's the transition of the newly graduated registered nurses and enrolled nurses into professional practice. It's usually a 12-month contract, and during that period, the new graduates are offered rotations in different departments of the hospital, including medical wards, surgical wards, and high dependency areas. And during the program, these new grads are offered clinical support, and they usually work with the preceptor at the beginning to become more familiar with the clinical area they might be working in. These programs are offered by both public and private sectors across Australia. And I came to Australia in 2015 to study nursing as an international student, and I graduated at the end of 2017 and started working as a new graduate registered nurse almost straight away. I knew I had a position as a registered nurse in the new graduate program before I graduated. So how it normally works is that you start applying for these new grad applications in the last semester of your degree. And most of those candidates usually find out before the graduation that they already have a new graduate position in one of the hospitals. So how it normally works is that if you don't end up graduating, they take the position away. So yes, the last semester of your degree is usually pretty hectic, where you are trying to manage your time in between your clinical placements and your assignments that might be due, and on top of that you're trying to fill these application forms for all these new graduate programs that you're interested in. But the key there is to try and stay organized and try and manage your time properly, and it's all worth at the end. I have got some tips for all of you out there who are planning to apply for the new graduate applications at some point. First things first, always try and get some experience as a caregiver where you are in direct contact of the patient. In short, try and get some AIN or undergraduate experience in a setting where you see yourself working as a registered nurse or enrolled nurse once you graduate. Secondly, try and get some experience in a healthcare setting or facility where you see yourself working as a registered nurse or enrolled nurse once you graduate. And it really looks good on your resume again, because they can see that you previously have had an exposure and experience in that particular setting, which gives you an edge over the other candidates. So that's really important. And my third tip is apply everywhere, because these programs are very competitive and popular at the same time among the new graduates. So logically, if you apply to more programs, the chances of you getting an interview or securing a job substantially increases. So apply everywhere. I would also like to stress on the fact that resumes are really important when it comes to these new graduate applications, because that's the first thing they see. So you need to make sure it's a good one. So I would say try and start working on your resume as early as you can, spend some time on it. And at any point you feel that your resume is not good enough or you just need some feedback, you can always go back to your faculty members at whichever uni or TAFE you're studying at, and they're usually happy to help and provide you some constructive feedback that might be helpful when you're doing your resume. Now, my fourth tip is that always prepare for the interview. I know it sounds very cliche, but some people might take interviews lightly and they might think that they might just go with the flow, but that's not always the smart move, because interviews are very crucial. Your application has already been picked because your resume was probably a good one, so now you don't want to lose that chance in the interview. So how you prepare for these interviews is that you try and find some stuff online, interview questions, or ask your friends who might have gone through the same process recently. So what you basically do is you try and practice all those questions on a daily basis. But when they do ask you that particular question in the interview, you try and sound as natural as you can, as if you've heard that question for the very first time. Also, try and make yourself aware of the core values or the mission values that the hospital or the facility you're going for have, because in the interview they might ask you a few questions in regards to those core values. So it's really crucial for you guys to know those. But if you guys want me to make another video on just the interview questions for nursing, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know in the comment box below. Also, I do want to mention that hospitals aren't the only places that new graduates can work. It's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that hospital setting is the only setting that's designed for the new graduates to work. That's not true. There's plenty of other opportunities that new graduates can go for. There's mental health facilities, aged care settings, clinics, etc. So you do need to do your research there when you're applying for these programs. Now, I have some tips for the international students who might be graduating. First things first, you do need a valid English test with at least 7 bands in IELTS in each component of the test. But if you're going for other tests like PTE or OET, the required score is provided over here. So make sure you have that before you go for those new graduate applications. And secondly, you do need to plan your journey ahead, because in most circumstances, the student visa expires right after the graduation. And that means you have to apply for another visa, which is usually the graduate work visa. So make sure you have all those documents ready to apply for that particular visa, because in most circumstances, the new graduate program don't offer sponsorship to international students, and they make it very clear on their websites usually. So you do need to have a plan ahead, because you might be asked this in the interview. I was personally asked this very question in the interview, asking about my plan ahead, because they did specify in the eligibility criteria that we are not going to sponsor international students. So make sure you have a clear idea of where you're heading, and then you will be able to answer confidently what your plan is if it is asked in the interview. So guys, I myself secured a position as a new graduate RN in one of the hospitals in New South Wales, and the whole program was for 12 months, which had 3 rotations. My first rotation was in a surgical ward. It was urology and plastics, and I really enjoyed working there. The second one was in a medical ward, and the third one being in emergency department of the hospital, which I really enjoyed, and that's where I'm currently working as a registered nurse. And at the last, can I just say that if you don't end up securing a position as a new graduate, registered nurse or enrolled nurse, whichever one you're going for, it's not the end of the world, because as I said, these programs are very competitive and are very popular among the new graduates. So if it comes down to a point where you weren't able to secure a position, I would say try and apply for just the normal jobs of registered nurses and enrolled nurses. Yes, the chances of getting a job like that is pretty low, only because you don't have the experience that they need for you to work in those areas. And also it can be a bit challenging because you don't have any supervision or any support. But at the end of the day, it's still better than not having a job at all, and you're still gaining some experience as you go. So guys, that was a summary of my whole experience as a new graduate nurse here in Australia. I hope you found this video useful, and if you would like me to create more content like this for you in future, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. And yes, if you do have any questions, please drop them in the comment box below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!